everyone. Can you hear me just fine? Amazing. So we've already had a very, very wonderful day filled with very insightful information on how to craft, start, or to improve our employer brand. So I'll try to wrap up the afternoon by going through a good balance. Hopefully, afterwards we'll see how the feedback would be. Balancing information, key learnings that we've had in Decathlon when it comes to employer branding, and also self-reflection. And my goal is by the end of this presentation is to let you go with several questions to ask yourselves when it comes to auditing your employer brand and its link to inclusivity, okay? A little bit about me. That's a huge photo. I didn't realize how big it would be. I'm sorry. So yes, I'm Aya, formerly Mariah, but Aya is the nickname. I'm the talent acquisition leader or head of talent acquisition at Decathlon UK. I'm a very, very big fan of sport, as big as my picture. So I am a triathlete and also an ice hockey player. I'm Filipina, so I sometimes miss the warmth of the Philippines, but we get what we get. And on a day-to-day basis, I get to showcase careers that move people through the wonders of sport, and I'll link that in just a little bit. My background really is in branding, marketing, and communications, but just 2 years ago when I moved to the UK, I was tasked to create the employer brand of Decathlon UK, and I realized my love for HR, and now I have transitioned into the human resource or the people topic. So, you have my LinkedIn QR there. If you're on Strava, I'll see you there as well. You can give your kudos in there as well. Amazing. So just a little bit about Decathlon. We are a sports brand present in over 78 territories globally with over 1,749 stores, 101,000 teammates representing 86 nationalities globally as well. I'm it's a little bit of a difference. I'm very proud to share that in the UK, we have 46 stores, 1,458 teammates representing 73 nationalities. And out of that whole workforce population, I'm also proud to share that 92% of our teammates in the UK are proud to come and work at Decathlon. And also they've mentioned that they claim to feel that they belong and included in the company. So we do have our yearly closing survey to understand the sentiments of the team, and I'll share with you how maybe this is something that you can also practice when it comes to crafting your employer brand. Just a little bit about the session. This session is perfect for you if you're looking for your starting line to making your employer brand a bit more inclusive, or if you're on the starting line of creating your employer brands. Raise of hands. How many of you have faced challenges when it comes to getting a buy-in on prioritizing D&I or employer brand? Okay, so I'm not alone. That's good. So I think this is the key message that I also wanted to share. I put a little bit of a point there that it's also about embracing ROI, but also ROI/return on inclusion. So the idea is also to try and see how we can work together in order to create a roadmap by the end of this presentation. A case study, if we can call it this way, something simple to convince your stakeholders that it's actually worth investing on and it's a need. And to look for some actionable examples to use as inspiration if you're just looking for simple practices as well to try out and test on your projects. Let's start with some definitions, just to be sure that we are all in the same page. Anyone familiar with this comic strip? It's everywhere, isn't it? Like to define D&I. I just found out that it has expanded, so I didn't do this. You have the credit somewhere there. But really, inclusion is about allowing, or at least how I'd like to define it this afternoon, allowing everyone or anyone to be able to perform, to get the chance to perform by embracing their differences. And also acknowledging those differences. So if we put it on an employer branding perspective, we have to be able to ask ourselves sometimes, am I actually acknowledging the differences of the audience who will see the brand that I put out, the content that I put out? And summing up, I think, the different definitions that we've had when it comes to employer branding from the morning, employer brand for me is about the truth well told. So sometimes, in order for your truth to be actually inclusive, diverse, and equitable, we will need to revisit them. And that's fine, because we cannot oversell. It's all about authenticity. It's been mentioned so many times today. So we have to focus that, are we actually talking about the truth, and are we telling it in a good way? Sorry, showing, not telling. So, just a little bit about the format again. I'll be asking several questions, so you can take out your notes. The format really is about self-reflection, coaching a little bit, if I can put it this way. And the first question that I'd like to put out there would be why, and arguably the most important question that we have to answer. Let's do a little bit of a quiz instead of me just pushing out some data. Do you have a guess, or what do you think is the percentage of females in the UK population? In percentage, sorry, for the portion. 49%? Very close, 51, well done. And 47% is in the workforce. In terms of ethnicities, what do you think is the portion of the minority ethnic group in the UK? Overall in the UK, percentage. Very close, impressive. And 14% is in, I don't have prizes, sorry. You get my kudos and bragging rights. 14% is in the workforce. Sorry, I flashed it for the... 24, well done. So yes, we have 24% of the working age population in the UK have a visible or an invisible disability. I do have one last question. What do you think is the percentage of women representation in C-suite in the UK? 2%. Sorry? 2%. A little bit higher. 10%. A little bit lower. 8%. So I let you take what you can with this number, but I think the key question that I also would like to share in here is, as HR specialists or talent attraction specialists, as people who work in human resource and moving careers, career progression, etc., what can we do to positively impact these numbers? I also have a couple of data in here, and I think I'm not going to go very much into detail. I'm not sure if we're going to be sharing the presentation yet, Natasha, but something that you can also click once you have the presentation are important information that you can use as case for your proposal. But I think to sum it up, would you agree that it's the right thing to do? To propose inclusivity, diversity, and equity, right? So we share that same feeling, but it's also about giving that opportunity for performance, but not only individual performance, it's also about collective and organizational performance. As we have on the data, it's proven, at least in this day and age, that companies who focus on D&I get to perform, to socially and economically perform better. Question number 2, what's our playing field like? You know, in sports, right, before we go into the tourney or the tournament, the competition, we have to analyze, what is our team like? And what is the playground like? It's gonna be the same for us in employer brand. So we need to do an audit. And you can do this within your teams, within yourselves, or you can hire, you can work with an agency or consultant to work with you on this. But for us in Decathlon, we did our employer brand DIY as well, so about 1.5 years ago. And this question has to be dissected into further questions. I'm not going to be showing our 4 pillars. We do have our 4 pillars as well, but we do have our 4 pillars of questions. So the first one is all about auditing or analyzing, really understanding your brand positioning. This is where you'll really find out, is the company or the organization today really inclusive, diverse? If not, what can we adjust? You'll start to have these convictions as you go through the questions. Keep in mind that your posture, as much as you can, needs to be neutral. And sometimes it will be challenging, it will be tiring, and it will be emotionally, challenging. Second point would be about your own channels. Today, where are you present as an employer, but also where are you present as a consumer? Your marketing team will be your best friends. Find a way to keep them as your BFFs because they're really going to help you identify points that we will not be able to see as HR specialists. Third, face your human practices and policies. Are we actually authentic with what we're going to be sharing? Okay, we have this dream of becoming, let's say, the most inclusive, the most diverse company out there, but do our policies today enable us to do this? And last but not the least, listen to your workforce. What are the sentiments that you have? Ask questions such as, what do you like about working in the company that you're in? What are, for you, the advantages? What are the rational advantages? What are the emotional advantages? One thing that I realized from doing this exercise is we have two types of advantages. You have your rational, which will make your candidates join, and you have your emotional advantages, which will make your teammates stay. Sorry, we say teammates in Decathlon, so you will hear it every now and then. And once you have these points, very important to come up with general conclusions, because you can't present 200 answers in one presentation. We need to challenge ourselves to analyze and come up with general conclusions. And reflect on these conclusions. What are the implications that you have from these conclusions? And the challenges that you face today or upon starting the employer brand projects, are they consequences of the conclusions that you've had? So for instance, when we first started our employer brand, one of the things that we really were facing is the lack of applications. So we work in retail, we function as retailers, we also have our services department, we have a tech department, we have logistics, and on retail, our bread and butter roles were suffering. So sometimes we would have to lessen our store hours because of this, so our pipelines were absolutely exhausted. And when we did the exercise, I'm not saying that this is the only reason, but one of the things that we found out, or that we have realized, is that we were only present onto job boards, and every time that we would push it out, when we checked with our marketing team as well, is that we were being exposed to the same profiles. So what can we do in order to expand this audience and to hit and to create and acquire new candidates as well? Third question, and also a very, very important ingredient in order to get that buy-in. What does success look like and what does value look like? First question that you also have to answer on this is really be clear with the organizational goals. We need to ensure that whatever we do is at the service of the organizational goals as well. And on the way, we have to make sure that it's also done right. Second is in terms of your people goals, your human goals, are they related? Do they answer and contribute to your organizational goals? And last but not the least, you have to answer this as well, is what will make you proud? As the key player of the project, this question will keep you engaged. It will keep that fire inside you burning quite bright when you have so much fire around you as well. So you have to identify, you have to envision what success will really look like for you. So for us, as I've mentioned, turnover, so this is an example, is one of the key organizational goals. We need to boost our market share. And we can't do that if we don't have the bread and butter roles that we have in the team. So we need to start building and nurturing talent pipelines and pools that will allow us to get there. And for me, one thing that I wanted to ensure was that at one point, we'd like to be one of the most inclusive employers out there. This will ensure that how we meet organizational goals and our HR goals will still be done right. And once you've identified your why, you've audited and you understand how your current workforce looks, your environment looks like, and you have an idea of what your targets will be and what the finish line would look like, time to talk about your play. So what will be your key strategies? Of course, your actions and your strategies will differ depending on what comes out of your study. But I'll be sharing some points that we know could work and could be on your toolkit for employer branding. So first part is inclusive language. Is everyone familiar with what inclusive language is? Just one question. Cool. So it's a very broad topic, I'd have to say. So a couple of points that I can share with you on this is we, at least in Decathlon, we stick with 4 rule of thumbs when it comes to inclusive language, just to ensure that everyone remembers it. So first is genderless language. So on your job descriptions, on your job specs, are you able to use and really check that it's gender neutral? There are tools out there that are available, so I highly encourage you to check them out and see how that is for you. The second point that I wanted to share for this is just ask. Just ask the question. If you're not sure, is this going to be acceptable? Is it not going to be acceptable? Just ask. It's the case for me as somebody who is not local, not the local of the United Kingdom. I have to ask a lot of times as well. But this is one way to show your commitment, and this is one way for you to show progress when it comes to inclusivity as well. So one example that we've done for Decathlon is that our previous tagline for our employer brand was really promoting active careers for active people. Upon listening to the sentiments of our team, we really asked them, what are the words that are important for you that really reflect who Decathlon is, and how does it reflect your experience so far? So we went from active careers for active people to careers that let you play, because we want you to be engaged. The careers are something that's long-term for you. It's all about your journey. And playing is really all about giving you that opportunity to play to win and that performance level mindset. Second practice, and we've talked about it earlier as well, is advocacy. How many of you are actually able to tap into your audience, into your current teammate and workforce, and use them as your key channel when it comes to talking about your employer brand? So for us in Decathlon, we do our best really to tap into the teammates that we have. Surprisingly for us, it's not really a challenge to get their commitment and their engagement when it comes to this. The big challenge that we do face is, okay, how do we build the content? Because the team is quite small. We don't really have a creative team in our employer brand team. So this is where the marketing and communications team come in. But at the same time, this is also where modern technology can assist your current teammates when it comes to creating their own content. So for us, whenever we would generate employee-led content or ambassadorship content, we would see an engagement rate that's 50% higher than consumer or corporate communications led. So for us, it's absolutely great, and the CDR is also much more higher. And practice number 3 is about giving voice. So this is about user-generated content. How many of you have tried doing polls on LinkedIn for your employer brand? And would you agree with me that it's quite engaging, like for the engagement rate and the click-through?
It's good for impressions, engagement rate low.
Okay. For us, we have the other way around. Impressions would tend to be lower, but engagement would be high because they need to click. So try it out. And one thing that we try to do as well is that every quarter, the content that we push out for the polls would be, what type of content would you like to see next? So you kind of have you use your audience as well as kind of like your concept team, and they drive the type of content that you'd be pushing out moving forward. Practice number 4 is representation. Aside from auditing your current workforce and the different channels that we've showed earlier, when was the last time that you've checked the photographs that you've used, the presentations that you've used, elements, again, languages, etc.? Remember the numbers that I've shared with you earlier? One of the key things that perhaps we have to really start pushing out in order to change that is actually showing that it could happen. So for leadership roles, do we have an unconscious bias when we start picking the type of pictures that we use for certain positions? If so, how can we change it? And media mix matters. So again, depending on where you show your roles, your jobs, or your brand in general, that will matter a lot. And now that you've had some actions in place, the last question that you have to ask yourself is, who are the key players that will be on your team? Who do you need to surround yourselves with, and who do you need to get your buy-in from? First one would be your executive team, your leaders, your C-suite. If they're not engaged, you will have a very, very difficult time to make this happen. So for us, the first conversation that I've had was with the executive team. Before I started rolling out the conversations with our teammates, I started to talk with them and really understand, in terms of priorities, how important is this for you? And if it's not within the scale that I would like, I would really ask them, what can we do, or what type of value will change that scale? What will make it as important as other priorities for you? Second team that you need to befriend, again, your marketing, your communications team. They will really assist you in terms of expertise, in terms of content, in terms of advice. So please work with them, and the collaboration will be very, very important. The people team, the HR team, if there is one support system that really needs to have your back, it will be them. Your employees, your teammates, your workforce. And don't underestimate the power of passion. If you have D&I passionate people within your team, look for them, use them as advocates, and use them as your campaigners for the topic. And of course, you. It's easy to forget it, but we are all key players on this. So it's tough at times, but do everything you can. Again, surround yourself with the things that will give you energy, that will keep you running. And every now and then, pat yourself in the back when you celebrate your little victories as well. So just to sum up, some questions that we have to ask ourselves if we want to craft an inclusive employer brand, or we want to audit our current employer brand. First is really to understand why we should do it. And it's simple. It's the right thing to do, and it's all about performance as well. Second is really understand what your current playing field looks like. What is the environment like for you? What needs to be changed? What could be added? What could be changed, removed, etc. What will success and value look like by the end of this project? What is your play? How will you get there? How will you get on that finish line? And who will be your key players? And hopefully you all become brand champions, and I look forward to all of the employer brand projects that you'll be rolling out. Thank you.